The Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement between the UAE and Australia is entering a new phase, one that places renewable energy at the centre of the relationship. To explore what this expansion could unlock for investment, technology exchange, and long-term energy security, I'm joined by Trevor Ducharme, President of Global CMX. So Trevor, how does the CEPA agreement, so the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, typically known as CEPA, between the UAE and Australia create new opportunities for collaboration on renewable energy? Because obviously the agreement is being expanded.
The agreement opens up the opportunity for new partnerships, new synergies in Australia and in the UAE themselves. Australia and the UAE move on very different frequencies. So if you're a UAE investor or a developer coming into Australia, outside of the standard blocks, the blocks and the negotiation blocks in the CEPA, from removal of tariffs, removal of capital gains tax and whatnot, this allows developers to enter Australia and cut through all the red tape. So Australia is renowned for being very comprehensive when it comes down to your development approval and the process of actually developing a solar farm or a wind farm or a battery farm. The CEPA itself now cuts through red tape, immediately qualifies groups through what's called the Foreign Investment Review Board. So you're not waiting months at a time. So if partnerships are started, so let's say a tender were to start tomorrow in Australia, a group from the UAE under CEPA can now enter the market immediately. They don't have to worry about going through all the foreign checks and check marks that we go through with typical foreign companies coming through. You're essentially treated as an Australian company. So if you're looking to form a JV, you're being treated as a local company. You can tender immediately. You can enter the market through a partnership or on your own. It's really more speed when you think about it. So there's no leg up for being an Australian company now.
And that means also you can bid on Australian government contracts.
Exactly. So the regulated and unregulated side is quite interesting. So if you look at right now in Australia, there's actually quite a bit of UAE investment already in Australia right now. One of our largest transmission companies based in New South Wales is partially owned by the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority. So it's not like it's a new frontier, we'll say, for UAE investment. They've been there for quite some time. Masdar has investments across Australia right now. ADQ, through some of their sister and partner companies, have opportunities right now. DP World is one of the largest owners of our ports in Australia right now. So it's quite interesting when you look at it from the CEPA perspective, that now they can expand upon their pre-existing investments. But also, yeah, you're right, bid into the regulated and unregulated market itself.
Okay. And where do you see, in your opinion, the most immediate opportunities that CEPA will unlock, within supply chains, partnerships, or project development in the country? I know you've explained what it will do, but are there projects underway where this could really be of value for companies trying to get into Australia?
Most definitely. I think if you look at it right now, there's two very different streams. So the sustainable aviation fuels, it's quite interesting. We have a lot of projects that are in their genesis period, we'll call it, that really need that next big delta of investment. And linking them up to not just investors, but airlines, fuel companies that want to get into the SAF market themselves. So SAF in the expanded green fuels market is the immediate opportunity I'm seeing right now, but also green minerals, critical minerals that Australia is rich upon, allows investors from the UAE now to come in and not just invest them, but use them for green purposes. So for example, magnetite. Some of the richest magnetite and purest magnetite in the world is found in South Australia and Western Australia. And to be able to process green steel, you require a very pure form of magnetite. This is not something that pops up in every country. There's maybe 3 or 4 spots around the world that have something higher than 93% purity. And we happen to have 2 of the largest deposits for it. So if you want to get into green steel, which we're seeing here in the UAE, M Steel right now is quite involved in green steel, whether it be through green magnetite or the use of green hydrogen. This is an immediate opportunity right now. So the shipping side, and that also plays well into the tariff side when you look at the CEPA agreement itself.
And what about the other way for Australian companies looking to get into the UAE? Do you have any knowledge there?
Definitely. Sometimes we forget just how geographically isolated Australia is. I'm Canadian. So when I moved to Australia, I haven't been on a 24-hour flight or let alone a 12-hour flight when it comes down to it. We're landlocked and, getting into Europe is less than 7 hours sometimes. So Australia really needs that gateway to the world, and that's what the UAE provides. So this CEPA is going to allow the manufacturers, the supply chain, the critical minerals, and even the fuels market an access point to the world. And it's so centralized here in the UAE. So if you were to expand as an Australian company right now, I think your natural next stop would be in the UAE. It's happening right now as it is. So not just in energy, although I specialize in the energy and critical mineral side. The agribusiness side really needs that jumping off point, and that's what the UAE offers. Not just so much for the domestic requirements here, but the access to the globe that it provides through the major ports we have in the UAE.
Okay. And then are there any regulatory, certification, infrastructure challenges still to be addressed to make sure that this agreement obviously runs smoothly?
More so in Australia, I believe, than there is in the UAE. And not to say that they're not unrecognized issues, but Australia is a much older country than the UAE. The UAE is very modern. So when you look at the grid and the ports and even the pipelines here in the UAE, they're very current. So all the common user infrastructure has been developed with the future in mind here in the UAE. And things move and are so advanced here in the UAE that you couldn't ask for a better partner. Australia's been around for quite some time. So we're almost going through a reset right now where our grids are being upgraded, our ports are being upgraded, our pipelines are being expanded. So from a regulatory perspective, we have a little bit of catching up to do in Australia from a ports perspective. If we want to be able to, ship green fuels or green magnetite or our hydrogen to the world, there's quite a few really interesting things that are happening here in the UAE that literally lead the world right now. You're seeing some green fuels and low carbon fuel bunkering happening here with Abu Dhabi ports. They made a huge announcement back in November about probably the largest investment in low carbon fuels bunkering happening worldwide. These are the assets that Australia can really join into right now from this perspective.
But it must be the other way as well, because obviously Australia has huge opportunities around hydrogen, green hydrogen,
Yes.
and a lot of investment happening at the moment as well.
Green hydrogen is probably, well, actually, if you look at the CEPA agreement itself, this agreement was planned for the next 50 years. This isn't an electoral term. This is going to be around for, ongoing in perpetuity. So when the building blocks were put in place for the CEPA, green hydrogen was actually included in the agreement. They didn't just give it a general brand of energy or renewable energy. There's actually a specific MOU in the CEPA that talks about renewable energy and mentions green hydrogen. So there's a lot of skeptics around green hydrogen right now. That's fine. For every 50 successful projects, there's one project that won't work, but that's going to happen. But when you look at the powerhouse that is Australia, when it comes down to land, water, and the ability to generate green hydrogen through solar and wind, we have an overabundance of land, an overabundance of wind and sun. When it comes down to it, it's sunny 320 days a year in Australia. So the ability to generate your green hydrogen through the natural resources in Australia provides you a bit of a launching point for that. So yeah, green hydrogen is really top of the list, but what else can green hydrogen do? It can power, your green steel side of things. It can get into your mobility. So there's a lot of options, but yeah, most definitely using the future thinking and investment opportunities and investment funds from the UAE to stabilize the natural growth in Australia is a key point.